Hey guys, how we doing? I might be a little bit early, so we'll just wait a little while and see if a few more people jump on board. Looks like a few's jumping on now. Thanks for joining me. Saturday lunchtime here in Melbourne. I imagine it is Friday night over in the States. G'day Jane, thanks for joining in. I'm feeling quite average actually, so excuse me if I'm not my sprightly self, but yeah, we'll get through it. I woke up with G'day Joe. I woke up with a pretty nasty throat this morning and a fair bit of muscle weakness. So I personally feel that I have corona, but at the same time, I'm doing 2 rat tests a day, morning and night, and they're I'm doing them properly, and they just don't seem to be coming up with a positive result. So I'm isolating anyway. You know, I have the symptoms. I'm isolating with the whole of my family, so we're in lockdown once again. I'm out in the bungalow right now, but we'll just see how we go. G'day guys, Chris, Joe. I don't know how to say your name, mate. I'm sorry. Is it Sanuk? Craftsman on the Lake. Jeff, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's great to see you all. Happy Friday to those in the States, and happy Saturday to us. 3 a.m. Where's that? Haku, where are you, mate? 3 a.m. That's quite a late live stream for you. Get a PCR test. I would, Joe, but you know what? There is no PCR tests where I live on Phillip Island. They shut down the testing centre. So the nearest one is about an hour away, I think. So, well, maybe 40 minutes away, Wonthaggi. And I could drive out there, you're right. But at the same time, I'm isolating anyway. So I figure, I just, instead of doing the 40-minute drive there and 40-minute drive there back and the 4-hour wait in line, I thought I'd just stay here and isolate by myself anyway. But thanks for your concern, buddy. Kath, you made it. How was your little visit to Costco? Or was it Walmart? I forget which one it is. You stock up on some toilet paper, get a few extra large rolls. Good stuff. For those that don't know, Kath's a admin, a very important admin. She's been with us from the start on the Facebook group. So you guys tuning in now. If you use Facebook, I know not everyone uses Facebook, but feel free to come over and say hi to everyone because it's a fun group, and I certainly enjoy it. And it's great to have Kath and a few other admins that help me out, keeping everyone in check. Everyone's great. Everyone behaves. All right, so I think we'll probably start. Hey, there's probably not too much time to waffle as I do. So we'll get started. And then what I think we'll do is, as I'm going through it, after I've done a little segment, I can pause for a little bit, check out the chat, and just make sure that you all understand it. And, if you've got any questions, we can sort of tinker through a few questions and see how we go. And then we'll move to sort of the next part. I will keep it nice and slow. And I will also try and pretend that everyone is essentially beginners. So some of it might seem a little bit beginnerish. So if you're a bit more of an advanced user, it might seem a little bit boring, but I think it's important that I kind of bring it back to a real beginner level just so everyone understands. But if I'm not doing that, also let me know, because sometimes I forget that people don't have the same understanding as I do. So we'll see how we go. All right, so now this AirSense 10 AutoSet that I have here, I just got it the other day. I purchased it myself. I did get a little bit of a discount from my sponsor, but I did purchase it myself. I do have another AirSense 10, but I turned another AirSense 10 AutoSet exactly the same as this, but I changed that into a BiPAP by doing a little hack. We won't go through that today. I did a hack, turned it into a BiPAP, and then a bird just flew into the screen. A bird just flew into my window. So I did a little hack, and then I couldn't be bothered changing it back because it's a bit of a process. So I just got a new one. That way everything is set up the way it should be. Now, with the AirSense 10 machines released in 2014, late 2014, we have got the standard CPAP model. We have the elite CPAP model. So these are your 2 fixed pressure units that will not vary the pressure automatically like an AutoSet. They will set one fixed pressure. So you can set one fixed level of pressure for both those machines. the CPAP and the Elite. Then we have the AutoSet, which is the one I have here. Some people call it the AutoSet for him, okay, because they do have also the AutoSet for her, which has the pretty flowers on it. And if you've got one of the other machines, don't stress. There is a lot of similarities, so it's still worth you watching, but I'm just going to go through my machine, which is the AutoSet, which most people will have. The difference between the standard CPAP, the base level CPAP, and the Elite CPAP is the Elite CPAP can differentiate between a few different types of apnea. So it can differentiate between central apneas, obstructive apneas, chain strokes, respiration. There's a few different varieties of apnea. The Elite can distinguish between them, whereas your standard CPAP cannot. So that's the sort of difference between those two CPAP models. But I highly recommend, if you can, not everyone can, that you should definitely go an AutoSet machine, an APAP machine. It will give you the option, as we'll see soon, to run this machine in fixed pressure mode. We can change the mode and use it as a set pressure, fixed pressure machine, a CPAP. But most people will be using it as an AutoSet because, well, I think it's better therapy, but that's up for debate. And I reckon Lanky and I, if you don't know Lanky, Jason on YouTube as well, we've got varying opinions on this. So I'll get him on one time and we can have a bit of a debate. But anyway, I've got the AutoSet here. And to start with, we're going to go through the clinical menu, which is really important. This is the advanced menu. Many of you will know that CPAP machines have two different menu systems in them. The basic patient menu, which all of you will be accustomed with, and then another secret menu that the physicians use, the sleep scientists use, people like myself use. And it's really important that we understand the advanced menu, this clinical menu, because it will give you access to a whole lot more features. And sometimes what the clinicians do is they will lock you out of different features on the machine. And it's quite annoying when they do that. They do it because mostly they don't want to confuse you. They want to keep the therapy nice and simple. But at some point in time, if you want to get really good at CPAP therapy and you want to start really fine-tuning your machine, then you need to learn this. So we'll go into it. So normally when we turn the machine on, just like I have now, this is our normal menu. This is our patient menu. I haven't done anything. I've just turned the click wheel. And if I click my options, you can see I've got a whole bunch of just standard patient options. We'll go through these in a minute. All right, so there's lots of different options here. I'll go back to home. Now, if I hold in the click wheel, this button here, now if my nails are dirty, I've been working on my boat. I've got a blocked carby, so excuse the dirty nails, all right? It's hard to get the grease off. But we hold in the click wheel and the home button simultaneously at the same time. Hold those two buttons in and you'll see then it's going to change. And you can see now it says exit clinical menu. So if we want to get out of the clinical menu, we can scroll up and click that. But now when we go into settings, there's a whole lot more advanced settings in here that we didn't have access to before in our basic patient menu. And we're going to work our way down these settings now. I'll tell you exactly what they mean, how you can adjust some of them. It's just so you have a really good understanding of what we're actually changing here and how they affect the therapy. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at here as we scroll down is the mode. So the way I'm doing this here is just scrolling the click wheel, and then when you hover over a menu icon, you click it in to access that icon. And then once again, you can go between different menus to click which one. So in the AutoSet here, we have the two modes. We have the AutoSet mode, which I'm currently on, but we also have this fixed pressure CPAP mode. And you can see I can change that by just clicking it in. So I just rotate, click it in, and I can change between the two modes. Pretty straightforward sort of stuff. So the difference between the two modes, for those that who don't know, is that the AutoSet mode will monitor your breathing throughout the night. Every minute, it will monitor your breathing. And then it's taking in all that information about your breathing. And when you start having apnea, snoring, hypopneas, any sort of abnormal breathing event, the machine will pick up that information and then it will adjust either up. If your breathing's bad, it'll adjust up. If your breathing's good, it will come down. But throughout the night, we have a varying pressure gradient as we go throughout the night. Now, with a fixed pressure machine, or a CPAP machine as they call them, continuous pressure, the machine's not monitoring anything really. We tell it what to do. We tell it to set it. We tell it to send one fixed pressure level, might be 10, 11, 12, whatever it is. And the machine is just going to make sure it delivers that set pressure right throughout the night. All right. And we can set up a little ramp. We'll go through that in a minute, but that's the sort of difference between the modes. While we're on the modes, I do personally prefer AutoSet modes because they do adjust over time. And when apnea changes, the machine will adjust with you. You might be having a few beers right now on your Friday night. You might need a little bit extra pressure or whatever. However, that being said, there is something beautiful about having just one level of pressure throughout the night. Your body knows exactly what that pressure is all the time. So it's very easy for your breathing to acclimatize to that set one rate of pressure. So even though I prefer AutoSet, it doesn't mean AutoSet's right for everyone. And if you're finding that those pressure changes throughout the night, when it's going up or going down, is waking you up, then you might like to potentially try fixed pressure therapy, CPAP mode, just to see how you find it. And that's the beauty of this clinical menu, is we can try different modes of therapy and different settings to find what we like the most. All right. Does anyone have any questions on the modes there? Does everyone sort of understand the modes? I'll just wait a little while. So Kath, you used to be on automatic mode, and then you changed to fixed pressure mode after a little session with Jason. And from what I've read, you prefer it on fixed pressure now, which is totally fine. If it's doing great for you, fantastic. Let's see what else we got. So everyone understands the modes. I'm not getting any questions on the modes. Everyone's pretty cool with that. We'll move on to the next part. Yep. Pretty straightforward. AutoSet, CPAP, they're the two modes. In the For Her machine, you will have an extra mode, which is the AutoSet For Her mode. So you'll have three modes: CPAP, AutoSet, AutoSet For Her. The AutoSet For Her is very similar. However, it just has a little bit slower pressure changes. The ride's a little bit smoother. It's designed, the AutoSet For Her is designed to even out those pressure changes to make the ride a bit smoother, so you're less likely to notice them when you're sleeping. Okay, that's the difference there between the machines, that AutoSet For Her. Okay, so let's change it back to AutoSet, because I think most of you are going to be on AutoSet, and we'll go. So the next two items down, we have the max pressure and the min pressure. Now, with 99% of automatic machines, as the highest pressure that they will go to is 20 centimeters. When you get onto the bi-levels, the BiPAP machines, they can generally go up higher to 25 centimeters. So if you're someone, you've reached 20, you've reached the top of Mount Everest, and you're still having real difficulty controlling your sleep apnea, then you might want to go to a BiPAP machine, because you can go up that extra, 20%. Yeah, you can go up an extra 20%. All right, so that's as high as it can go. Now, if we want, we can click this click wheel in and we can change it. And you can see here, it's going down by 0.2 of a centimeter each time I rotate the dial. So we can adjust that max pressure downward. And I'll tell you why in a second. And then we also have this min pressure value here as well. And once again, 95% of the time, the lowest the machines will go is 4 centimeters. There are a few machines that can go down to 3. The iBreeze, which I did a review on the other day, that goes down to 3. The Sleep Cube or the IntelliPap by DeVilbiss, soon to be discontinued, can also go down to 3. If you are someone who, even on 4, the lowest level, you're really struggling and you find it still too strong, you could consider potentially starting with one of those other machines, probably the iBreeze, and then you will be able to start on that level 3. It'll just make it maybe a little bit easier for you, okay? But 4's the min level that it will go to. So you can see see here, I can't go down any further. I can just go up. Now, a lot of people will just leave the range as is. Minimum 4, maximum 20, and they will just let the automatic algorithm, which is basically the computer program, determine what the correct pressure should be throughout the night between there. But we can reduce that range. So currently the range now is 4 to 20. We can bring that down. We can bring the top one down, and we can also bring the bottom one up and sort of shorten the range. Now, the reason we might bring the bottom level up, the min pressure that we're currently on here, the reason we might bring that min pressure up is if you're finding the therapy suffocating in the beginning, if you feel like you cannot get enough air into your lungs, you find when you know that suffocating feeling? I'm sure you've all experienced it. If you increase this to 5, you can try a few different values here. It's not a big deal. 5, 5.6, 6 even. You will notice that there's more airflow. There's more air coming through the mask, and you'll feel like, it's like having a bit more of a fan in your face. It's less suffocating. Sometimes people feel they can't catch their breath when the pressure's too low. There's not enough airflow coming through. So that's one reason you might do it. Another reason you might increase this min pressure is if you're struggling to get your apnea-hypopnea index under control. So for example, let's just say you are someone who has really bad apnea and you fall asleep really quickly. As soon as you go to bed, you fall asleep and you start having apnea, boom, straight away. It will take quite a long time, not super long time, but it will take quite a while for that machine to gradually increase the pressure up to where you might need it to be. So you might be better off starting your min at a little bit higher, and I'll show you a bit more on this further in the video. But you might be better having that min a little bit higher and a little bit closer to where you need it to be, so that when you do fall asleep, it doesn't have to travel such a big distance to control your sleep apnea. Now, you got any questions on the min and max pressure? Let's have a look. What's the minimum and max could be set at? Well, we'll go through that in a minute, Joe, regarding the best way to set those values, how to work out where they should be. I'll go through that in a little bit of time, because we've got to kind of get to the data section of the machine. And then once you sort of understand the data section, I can teach you how to use that data section to revert back as to where to set your min and max levels. We'll get to that. Can they both be set to the same number? If you're going to set them both at the same number, you may as well. I don't think they can. Let me just check, because that would be fixed pressure. That'd just be CPAP mode, but let's try it anyway. We'll set it at 10. Good question, mate. You stumped me here. I don't believe you can, but let's try. There you go. You can. So you can set the min and max at the same pressure, but what you're essentially doing there is setting it up as a CPAP machine. Okay, so you may as well just change the mode to CPAP. Let's have a look what else we've got here. Yeah, providers do hate it. Bad luck. Bad luck to them. That's what I say. AA McKenzie, does shortening the range auto adjust the ramp up? No, no, it doesn't. It depends. We'll get to the ramp in a second. But if you've got a ramp of 30 minutes, whether or not you've got the differences between 4 and 5, it's still going to take 30 minutes to get to 4 to 5. If you've got your minimum at, let's just say at 4 and then the max at 10, it's still going to take 30 minutes to get from 4 to 10. That's if it's set. We'll get to ramp in a second, buddy. But yeah, no, it won't shorten it. Were you able to go lower on the max there? Yeah, I was actually. I don't know. I don't know if that would. So you saw there, I can actually go lower in the max. Oh no! See, when I did go lower, but then I just pressed it in, and it evens it out. So you can go lower, but as soon as you press that button in, see, I'm learning stuff too, guys. How good is this? I've never actually even tried that before, but I was a bit astonished there. I sort of backed off that pretty quickly because I didn't want to get a question on it. John's asked, will my min max change if I switch mask style? That's a really good question, John. The mask style's coming up in a little bit. Now, I have looked into the manual quite extensively regarding setting the mask on your device. And I'm not sure if it's just so that when you set that mask value, you can see here it says pillows. When you set that mask value, it's just so that when they do a download, using ResScan or what do they call it, AirView, or whatever it is, when they do a download, it just shows on the report what mask style you're using. I know with the Philips devices, when you set your mask, it changes the pressure delivery a little bit because different mask styles have different resistance levels. A nasal pillow mask that has a really small, the pillow mask that goes in your nose has a really small cavity. It's only a really small volume inside that cushion. And so the resistance is quite high. Whereas a full face mask has quite a large cavity, so the resistance is a lot lower. I'm sorry, but I'm not 100% sure when it comes to the ResMed AirSense 10 or 11, if changing that value, the mask value, actually changes the pressure delivery. I'm not 100% sure. You got me on that one. I haven't read anything on it. I've looked. I can tell you right now, I've looked. Thanks, mate. I'm glad you're enjoying it. What else we got? Bo. Poe's asking some great questions. Is there a reason not to leave it at the max? He's basically saying what I said before is there a reason why you wouldn't leave it at 4 and at 20? And yeah, there's lots of reasons why shortening that pressure range can make a big difference to your therapy. Not for everyone. However, I'll give you a few examples. If you're someone where the high pressures throughout the night are causing you more disturbances than your apnea is causing you, yeah, you might want to bring that auto max level, the max that the machine can go, you might want to bring that down a little bit so that it's at a level that is not waking you up all the time. Those that have watched the channel quite a bit will know that I quite often talk about the balancing of the comfort with the therapy. Most of the doctors and most of the technicians really focus way too much on the therapeutical side. And that's because most of them have never slept with one before. So they're numbers people. They look at the numbers and that's what they see. Nah, we need to change that. Nah, we need to do this. Nah, we need to increase your pressure. They don't see the person on the other side of the mask who's lying awake with air shitting into their eyes and hating it. So the reason we adjust the min and the max is mostly for comfort, but it can also be, like I said before, it can also be for reducing your apnea-hypopnea index, better control. better control of your snoring and sleep apnea. Yeah, cool. Mine is set to 6 to 16. It's good stuff. That's an interesting one. So ResMed says to set the nasal N20 to pillow, not nasal. So presumably it does change in the pressure there. Well, most of the time with Philips and ResMed, they do have the same sort of features. They're best buddies. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it does change the pressure delivery in some aspect. I'll have to do a bit more research on that, guys, and get back to you. But that's a really good one. And very interesting that ResMed say to have their nasal N20 as a pillow mask, but also very confusing. And that's why it's great to have these little chats. All right, so I think we'll keep going. Otherwise, I'll be stuck here on the mode for the next 40 years. All right, so coming down, here we have the mask, which we were just talking about. So we have the pillows, full face, and nasal mask. If you've got a pillow mask, one that goes into your nostrils, set it as pillows. If you've got a full face mask that covers your nose and mouth, that's what we call a full face mask. Goes around, it seals both your nose and your mouth. Then we set it as full face mask. If it's a standard nasal, generally speaking, I know we just talked about the N20 before, but generally a standard nasal that goes around your nose, so around the nose there, we are going to set it as a nasal. But think of it more as the size of the area inside the mask. If it's a really small area, it's a pillow. If it's a medium area, it's a nasal. If it's a big area, a big space, full face mask. But I'll do a bit more research on that and get back to you on it. Now let's move down to the comfort settings. So you can see here we've got comfort. The first one is response. And we've got two options here, standard and soft. Now, when it comes to the response, what that's referring to is the response of the algorithm, or how aggressive it is at controlling your sleep apnea, how fast those changes are going to be. Are we going to have a soft response mode that's slower and more gradual in the pressure changes? So you start having apnea, it takes a longer time, but it takes a longer time to get where it needs to be, but also it's less likely to wake you up because big changes in pressure quickly wake you up. It's like a loud bang on the door. It's going to wake you up. So where am I? Yeah. So you've got standard and soft. For most of you, standard will be fine. Start with standard. If you are finding that those pressure changes, all of a sudden, you're waking up frequently throughout the night because the pressure's all of a sudden shot up and you're, what's going on? Try it on soft mode because you'll notice that it's gentler. It's more gentle. I don't know if gentle is a word. It's more gentle, softer, more gradual. The pressure gradually increases and also gradually decreases. It's not... Okay. Now, the downside of the soft mode is because it's softer and more gradual and takes longer to where it needs to be, you might notice that you get less control of your sleep apnea. All right, because it's taking a longer time to ramp up that pressure. So that's there's a bit of a balancing act controlling sleep apnea. So you really got to just try out a few different settings to find what's best for you. Has anyone got any questions on the response mode? All right. Now the response mode is only for the for him algorithm, only in this AutoSet. If you're in for her, you're already on the soft mode. You don't get a choice for that. What have we got? There you go, Joe. Standard works better for Joe, and his limits, his flow limitation numbers are lower. Yeah, good work, Joe. That's great to hear. So there you go. he's done a bit of investigation there, and he's figured out that standard's working better for him in controlling his flow limitation, which is reduction in the flow. Simeon, g'day Simeon. He's written, is that right, mate? I know you can't talk back to me. Simeon. So if you don't wake up with the pressure changes, go the highest, I presume. Yes. Don't go the highest. Go more the standard response mode. If the pressure changes are not waking you up. Joe's trying the soft mode. Nice work. Craftsman on the Lake has asked, is keeping the low high pressure close together, will it make the response quicker if soft or standard? No, it won't. It'll still be the same response. All right, moving on. So next down we have the ramp time. Now, for the beginners, the ramp was originally bought in when we didn't have APAP machines for those on fixed pressure CPAP machines, and it was designed to gradually build up the pressure over time to help you when you get off to sleep, or if you wake up in the middle of the night. It's very hard to get back to sleep with a CPAP machine because it's at that high, it's at that one level. The machine isn't going to drop the pressure because you've woken up and are no longer having sleep apnea. So they have this ramp feature where you can click that ramp, it'll drop the pressure down, you can get off to sleep nice and gradually, and over a set time, we can set the time, which I'll show you in a minute, the pressure will gradually increase up to assist you in getting off to sleep. All right, so let's have a look at that. So ramp. What have I got here? So you can see here we can go from having ramp off. So there is no ramp. When we start our therapy, if it's on AutoSet, it's going to start at our minimum value. Or we can set it to a set time. Let's just say 30 minutes. Now, when I changed it to 30 minutes there, you could see that there was a start pressure here popped up. Now, the start pressure needs to be lower than your min pressure. So if we go back up to the top here, you can see min pressure is 8. So I'm going to just give you an example here. I'm going to start the pressure at 5 because I want a bit more flow because it's suffocating me in the beginning. I feel like there's not enough air coming through. So I start the pressure at 5. I normally start it at 5 personally. And then over 30 minutes, the machine will go 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, all the way up to our min pressure 8. And that's how ramp works. Okay, so we first hop into bed, we turn it on. We've got a 30-minute ramp set. It'll start at 5, and over 30 minutes, it will gradually go up to 8. Now, once it hits 8, it's then going to go between our min pressure, which is 8, and our max pressure, which I've currently got set quite low at 10.4. All right, now that's how the ramp works. But there was one more thing in ramp. Where is it? Ramp. So you saw there as well when I went through before, there is this ramp time auto. All right. ResMed loves a good auto feature. Now with automatic, the machine will stay at that starting pressure, 5, until you fall asleep. Okay. How does it know when I fall asleep? Well, it's pretty good at seeing the changes in your breathing. Okay, and it can use that information to figure out when you fall asleep. Now, when you do fall asleep, it will then adjust 1 centimeter higher per minute until it reaches that minimum auto. I know that sounds a little bit confusing. So think of it like this. We've got our start pressure at 5. We fall asleep. It stays at 5. I'm lying there in bed. I'm wide awake. All of a sudden, I fall asleep. My breathing changes a bit. The machine notices I've fallen asleep. Every minute after that, it's going to go up to 6, to 7, to 8. So over 3 minutes, it'll go up. All right, so that's how auto works. Now, if if the machine doesn't notice that you've fallen asleep in 30 minutes, then it won't just wait around. It'll start going up anyway. So it'll still do that. So after 30 minutes, you haven't fallen asleep, auto ramp's going to go up 6, 7, 8. That's how it works. All right. Most of you probably don't really need a ramp, but if you are someone who's struggling in the beginning, getting off to sleep, then certainly have a play around with it and see how you find it. All right. Anyone else got any questions on auto ramp there? Yeah. Is there any advantage to taking the ramp off auto mode? Yeah, kind of, because you can go up into a higher level of time. So you can get up to 45 minutes of time instead of that 30 minutes. And also it's a little bit more gradual, when it goes up. So if we set 45-minute ramp time, which is a long ramp time, but you take a long time to get off to sleep because you like getting into bed, reading a book or watching a bit of TV and you just like chilling out, then, spending 45 minutes going from 5 to 8 is a nice long gradual increase, helps you get real acclimatized to the therapy. Whereas with the automatic, it'll stay nice and low, but once you fall asleep, boom, 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 boom. So it's just different. But there's a few advantages and disadvantages there, but just try it out for yourself, see which one works. Cool. What else we got? Got a few Canadian viewers. G'day. Yeah. G'day, Simon. Look, I'll tell you why I don't do a whole lot on Oscar. Those guys do a great job of it. It's a fantastic platform. I've known it for many years, well back when it was Sleepyhead. We won't go into it because it's a bit of a rabbit hole. It was Sleepyhead. There was a bit of a falling out there, and then with the founder of Sleepyhead, and then from the ashes of Sleepyhead, Oscar was born. Now, it is a great platform, don't get me wrong, but I'm working on my own platform. It's a cloud-based, web-based platform, which is very similar. So I didn't want to do a whole lot of videos on Oscar and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, here's this other platform. So there's a little secret for you all right? Don't tell anyone. If ResMed gets hold of it, they'll encrypt all the data and I'll be up shit creek without a paddle. What else we got? G'day, Teresa. Lovely to see heaps of membership badges, guys, as well. I really appreciate the memberships. It does take a lot of time to do all this stuff, so it's nice to get a little bit of reward. So thanks very much. All right, let's move on. EPR. EPR is the pressure relief. As you're breathing out, it is going to drop the pressure to make it easier to exhale against the pressure. Great for beginners. If you're someone who's just starting out and your lungs and your intercostal muscles and your diaphragm have not yet strengthened to meet that extra resistance, because CPAP therapy is very unnatural. It's almost the opposite of breathing. Normally there is no resistance, but that resistance is the therapy, and that resistance also makes it difficult, and people do struggle breathing against the therapy. EPR, we can set it to on or off. If you have it on, you've got three modes there. So you see the EPR level 1, 2, and 3. Now, those numbers correspond with a drop in pressure of that number. So an example, I've got an EPR currently set to 1, and if my inhalation pressure was 10, so I've got it set to 10, I breathe in 10. When I breathe out, it's going to drop it by 1. So I'm going to breathe out against 9. Okay, breathe in 10, out 9. So the more I go up, let's go up to 2. Now I'm breathing out against 8. Go up again, 3. Now I'm breathing out against 7. Okay, so it reduces the pressure as you breathe out by a factor of whatever that number is. Now, it is fantastic. However, like all things in CPAP, there's a few pros and cons. One of the cons is it will change the noise profile of your machine. You will start to notice that motor switching between inhalation and exhalation. It's only gradual, but you'll start to notice a shh. Well, I do anyway. So it will generally, with all machines, make them a little bit noisier. And also, for some people, it throws their breathing a little bit because you have a great big rush of air as you inhale and then no air, like a drop when you exhale. So for some people, they prefer no EPR. Once again, just try out the numbers. It takes 2 seconds. Put your mask on while you're sitting on the edge of your bed. Try the different levels and, just lie down with them and give it a couple of minutes each and just see which one you prefer. All right, but great for beginners. I always put beginners on level 3 unless they're whinging about noise. If they're whinging about noise, then one of the things I do is turn down EPR, and it normally helps quite a bit. Anyone got any questions on EPR? So on ResMed, it's EPR. Every machine has their own version. Philips Respironics have A-Flex and C-Flex, a few different versions. And there's ResFlex, and everyone's got a little flex mode going on. Resistance is futile. You're right, Simon. It is futile. Get to the chopper. Oscar is a software. It is software. Sleep analysis. I think it's open source. Open source. I forget what it stands for now. Open source CPAP analysis reporter. Open source CPAP analysis reporter. It's software you can just download from the internet, and what it will do is give you greater access to all the data features that are on your machine. So ResMed, we'll go through the data in a minute, but ResMed gives you a few different data variables, but it doesn't give you a whole bunch of detailed data. With Oscar, you can see every breath you take throughout the night. You can see exactly what your apnea looked like at any point in time, what your breathing looked like. It's cool stuff. Like, the guys have done a great job, and they do it for free. Maybe they get a few donations, but I know quite a lot of them. Some of them on our Facebook group, guys on our Facebook group. Most of the time you'll find the Oscar guys hanging out on the forums. Some of the forums, you see a lot of Oscar talk. And Lanky Jason, the Lanky Lefty 27. If you don't follow him on YouTube and you want to learn a bit about Oscar, then he's the guy to go and talk to about that. Does EPR impact therapy effectiveness? Great question, Mike. And the answer is it does. I'm going to do a video on it shortly for you regarding EPR and how it affects effectiveness. But it does. So it's a bit too long for this video to explain it to you, and a bit too complex, but I'm going to do a video on that. So stay tuned for that, but great question. Does EPR wear down the motor? I don't think it does. It's only a small change in the motor fan, the turbine spinning. So I don't think it would. I haven't heard that before. Yeah, Joe. Oh, that's another good question, Joe, and that sort of goes in with who was I just chatting to about before? Yeah, Mike. That sort of ties in with Mike's question there. Where was it, Joe? Sorry, guys, I'm just getting confused here. Can you discuss CO2 elimination issues related to EPR? So that ties in with Mike's question before about how it affects therapy. Like I said, it's too complex to go into it right now, because I'm basically going into ventilation stuff when we're talking about EPR, like inhalation pressure versus exhalation pressure, the difference between the two, which is what's called pressure support, and how that affects ventilation, the exchanging of gas, removal of CO2. It's too complex for this chat. I want to try and keep this basic, but thanks, guys. We will get into that. For the time being, just think of it as a comfort thing, but there is a bit more to it. All right, let's go down the puffy eyes. That's a real tricky one. I wish I had the answer to that. All right, let's keep going along the menu, guys. So climate control. Now, this is probably the most complex settings on the CPAP and the hardest to understand. No one understands. 99%, I don't think even ResMed fully understand how the climate control works on their machines. Most of the staff there wouldn't understand it because the manual, when you read the manual, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It took me a long time to figure out exactly what's going on, and I'll try and break it down for you in easy to understand language. So with climate control, we have two options: automatic and manual. And we'll start with the automatic. Now, the main thing to remember here, whenever we're talking about automatic climate control, we're talking about what's called relative humidity. And relative humidity is, I'm sorry, I'm not the best teacher. Let me try and figure it out. So relative humidity is, think of it like different temperatures of air can hold different levels of moisture. If you've got a really high temperature air, so let's just say 30 degrees Celsius, well, I'm using Celsius here, maybe 85 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure if that seems pretty warm. It can hold a lot more moisture as vapor. So it's like, vapor compared with, let's just say 20 degrees Celsius. So as the air cools, it can hold less relative humidity. So what ResMed does here with its climate control when it's on auto is it is working out the temperature of the air, and it's working out, when it knows the temperature of the air, it then works out how much moisture that air temperature can hold. So the higher the air temperature, the more moisture it can hold. And the machine is monitoring that information with a humidity sensor, and it's also monitoring the temperature with a temperature sensor. And then it's just adjusting the heater plate. So, the heater plate where your chamber, how it sits. So that part sits on the heater plate. All it's doing then is just heating until it reaches 85% relative humidity. Now, this temperature part here, see how it says tube temperature set to auto? That's really confusing because there is nothing automatic about the tube temperature. All auto tube temperature does is set the tube temp to 27 degrees, right? That's all it does. Now, I think it might be 80 Fahrenheit. Sorry, guys. I'm on the Celsius train. Okay, so it sets it to 27 degrees. There's nothing automatic about it. It's confusing. And what it's doing is it's just stopping the temperature inside the tube, the temperature of the air inside the tube, dropping below that value. If it's a really hot night and the temperature in your house is, let's just say 29 degrees, it's over that. It's not like a reverse cycle air conditioner and it's going to bring that temperature down and keep it at 27. If it's over that value, it'll stay where it is. But let's just say at 5 o'clock in the morning, the temperature drops and it starts going below 27, then that heated coil in the tubing, it's going to start to warm up. There's going to be more current running through it. It's going to heat that air back up to above 27 or keep it around that 27 mark. And as long as it's at that 27 or thereabouts, the machine knows exactly how hot the heater plate heating the water needs to get to deliver the 85% relative humidity. It's really confusing. I know, guys. It took me a long time to get my head around it, and you're kind of going, "What's going on? Relative humidity? What?" Think of it like this: if you've got your climate control set to auto, I did a trick question on this on the YouTube channel once. If you've got your climate control set to auto, right, you can add more moisture. If you're waking up dry in the morning and you've got it on auto, you can add more moisture. What you need to do is come down to the tube temp and change it from auto. We know auto is 27. You can go up. So if we go up to 30, right, because 30 is a warmer air temperature, it can hold more moisture. It can hold more vapor. And so the climate control auto, sorry if I just keep putting my finger in there, the climate control auto is going to heat up that heater plate more because the hotter air can hold more humidity. Okay, now we'll go to manual and then I'll give you a few sort of examples on what you're going to do. 90% of you are probably going to stick to automatic. Okay, we'll stay on auto for a sec. 90% are going to stick on automatic, and that's great because when it's on automatic as well, it'll monitor your room temperature. It'll monitor the ambient humidity in the air every day. The humidity just in the atmosphere changes. It will monitor mask leak and compensate for that, and mouth leak and compensate for that. So it's doing a lot of calculations and adjustments in real time throughout the night, and it's quite impressive. What you might want to do though is change the tube temperature. That's something you can do instead of having it on automatic. If you want more moisture, if you're dry, you might want to increase that tube temperature. It's going to heat up the air a little bit more, but because the air is warmer, it'll hold more moisture, so you'll get more relative humidity. If you're finding the air temperature too hot and sticky and you don't like that air, if you bring it down, that's fine. Let's just say we're coming down now to 24, 23. You can do that, but the lower the air temperature, the less moisture there's going to be in the air. So even though the climate control is set to auto, that's referring to the humidification, the moisture content. 23 is going to hold a lot less moisture content as vapor than 27, 28, 29. So that's how you sort of do the balancing act there. You got to work out how dry you are in the throat and nose, how congested you are. If you're getting blocked nose, you want to add a lot of heat and moisture. It's really going to open it up. With manual, when we're on, I know this is really boring, guys. I'm sorry. It's just important that you know this. So with manual, the machine is no longer doing any sort of calculations. It's absolute humidity. All right. You can see here when I changed it to manual, we now have a humidity level. And each number, off right up to 8, corresponds with a set absolute value of humidity, a set level. It's not relative, 85% of a certain tube temp. It is just an absolute value. So number 1 corresponds, so number 1 corresponds with a set value. Number 2 corresponds with a set value. A set level of heat on the heater plate adds a set level of moisture to the air. And yeah, as we go up in the number from off right up to 8, the more moisture we're adding to the air. All right. Most of you are going to keep it in manual, guys. If you don't want it in manual, then you are going to have to adjust to things like changes every day and the season changes and the humidification changes. It will give you a little bit more control, but at the same time, just stick to automatic. I should have just said that at the start. Hey guys, just stick to automatic, but it's good to understand. And now you'll understand on how we get rain as well. When we hit 100% relative humidity, the air can no longer hold the vapor and it comes down, it condensates. Now, I'll quickly talk about while we're on this, while we talk about rain out. So rain out is that condensation that you get, that really annoying condensation in your heated tube. So basically, ResMed, when it's providing 85% relative humidity, it's giving itself a 15% buffer, well, it's trying to, before you get 100% relative humidity, and then you get rain. So that's what it's trying to do there. It's giving itself that little bit of buffer to try and avoid that happening. It still can sometimes happen, can't it? So, that's designed to stop rain out. It's not always going to happen, but there's a few other things you can do, but we won't go into them now. I'll do a whole video on that one time. Has anyone got any questions on humidification? Because I know it's a big one. I've probably missed a lot. Yeah, rain out. I know it'll drag on for too long if I start talking about rain out. I'll just talk a little bit more about humidity as well. So the airflow from the therapy, think of it like hanging out your washing on a windy day. What happens? It dries a whole lot quicker. So most of the time, if you don't add enough moisture to the air, you will find that that airflow just takes out all the moistures from the cells in your upper respiratory area. So the lining of your nose, your sinuses, right back down to the back of your throat, inside your mouth. It's gonna dry you out. That's what it does, and it will. Some people get blood noses. It can cause shrinking of the nasal passages, so you get congested. If you've got cold air, it's going to cause your nasal passages to shrink down a little bit. Dry throat and mouth is annoying. That's why you've got to keep nice and hydrated. But also, it's really bad for your teeth. Really, really bad for your teeth. Dry mouth is going to cause cavities and a whole lot of dental problems. So most people will enjoy humidification, and when you get it right, you'll notice that it does relieve the dryness and it should help alleviate the congestion. It's not perfect, but this is the best we have. I did read a post the other day from a gentleman on the YouTube channel talking about a room humidifier as well. He was noticing his ResMed water chamber was running out, and so he added a room humidifier, like a standalone humidifier in his room, an evaporative humidifier, I think they're called. And he said that that was a really cool thing that he did. I'm really surprised that ResMed, just move my drink here, don't make, like this is 380 mils. I'm really surprised they don't just make another one that comes out an extra 20% and make a 500 mil version. It'd be so simple to do, and it would just be like another little sales tool. It would be brilliant. All these people that say they run out, all of a sudden got an extra 120 mils. ResMed gets to sell another chamber. Everyone's happy. So I'm not sure why they don't do that, but that'd be cool. G'day, Kathy. Got Kathy from Michigan there. Simon's got some great questions. What happens if you run out of water? Well, you're not going to have any humidification. It's not really going to damage the machine, because normally you'll find that it's only for a short period of time. They really should make it that if you run out of water, that heater plate cuts off, like a little sensor. The iBreeze that I did a review on the other day has that feature where if you don't have water in your tank, that heater plate doesn't work. If you did, let's just say you decided you didn't want to add water ever again, but you left the humidifier on so that it was just heating that plate all the time with no water in it, it will fuck up your humidification chamber. It'll screw the seals. That'll just expand too much and it'll start leaking. They already leak a lot, these chambers. They're not a great design. And maybe that's also why it happens a lot, because the water does run out, and without water in there, the heating of that plate expands the plastic, expands the seals, the silicon seals, and then you get the leaks happening. But if it's just happening every now and again, I don't think it's going to be a real big problem. Yeah, I'll wake up with burned nostrils. Yeah, so that's what's happening there. The burning sensation is the irritated nostrils, because all the moisture has been swept away by the airflow. So you really need to crank up that humidification and add a lot more moisture to the air, which is really going to help keep that air from drying out the inside linings of your nostrils, which are really delicate. All those the linings in there. Your nose actually is a humidifier. It heats the air as it goes through your nose and adds moisture to the air. But it just gets overwhelmed, especially if you're using nasal pillows. It gets overwhelmed by just way too much, just shooting that air up into the nose. The puffy eyes, I know, the puffy eyes, I'll have to do a bit of research on the puffy eyes. I know a few little things. The stink wakes you up. Oh, the stink from the burning stink with no water in there. Yeah, that could be right. What's Sammy written? Yeah, no, it's not good. All right, we'll keep moving along, hey? So that's the climate line there. AB filter stands for antibacterial filter. That's what that stands for, or antiviral filter. Now, if you add an antibacterial filter, is like an inline filter that you add between your machine and your mask. So it goes either attached to at the machine there, and then you attach your tubing, or that's where most people put it, because if you put it up near your mask, it's a bit bulky here. Now, they will add a fair bit of resistance to the flow. So the machine has a harder time working out pressure settings because there is this extra resistance layer there in the tube after the flow sensor and the pressure sensor. However, ResMed give you the option there that if you are using one, you can click yes. And I think what it does is it tells the machine that there is that extra bit of resistance there so that it can adjust the pressure accordingly. I think that's what it's designed to do. Now, why would you add an antibacterial filter in the first place? Well, if you are someone who is immunocompromised or you get sick a lot, then it might be a great option for you to put an AB filter in there, because it's really going to stop they stop a hell of a lot more dust and pathogens and everything that's being sucked through your machine. Even though it's got another filter on it at the back of the machine, these filters are a whole lot higher resistance, and stop a whole lot smaller particles. Some of them stop like 99.9% of viruses getting through. So that, when I was working in the hospitals, I worked at a lot of hospitals. We used to use them on every machine in the hospital setting. So they can be beneficial. I'm sleeping with someone who has COVID at the moment, so I should really be using one on my machine, but I haven't been. So, but anyway, that's one reason you might use one. There was that big thing about them with the Philips foam gate, and people would just stripping shelves and Amazon of all these antibacterial filters. And then Philips came out and was like, oh no, they did this big document on why you shouldn't use them. But then they backflipped on that document again and were like, oh yeah, no, actually, yeah, go ahead, use them. So, it's hard to understand these companies sometimes, but the fact that ResMed have this in their menu system means that they're okay with it. They're okay with you using these antibacterial filters. It might be a good option just with these AB filters while I'm on it. If you're someone who's highly sensitive to dust and allergies, if you're someone who gets really nasty hay fever, I'm thinking that that might be a good option for you as well. And we'll get down to the filters in a bit as well. But the other thing you want to do with your filter is change it from a standard filter, which is that coarse, like when you feel it, it's like a fluffy filter, to what's called a hypoallergenic filter, which I think everyone should use the hypo filters because they stop so much more dust. They're still not perfect by any means, but they'll stop a whole lot more dust getting into your machines compared to what they call the ultra fine filters, the standard filters. Those standard filters, I've got one here probably. Let's have a look at it. Yeah. So that there, this is the filter that came with. If I hold that up, you can already sort of see, where is it? Hang on. See how it's fluffy? Can you see how fluffy that is? The hypoallergenic ones they're not fluffy. It's not this fluffy material. They're like really smooth to touch. And if I hold that up to the light here, I can see right through the filter. It would only be really stopping quite large dust particles getting in your machine. And when these things are sucking in air 8 hours a night, and most bedrooms are pretty dusty, I know mine is. Some of you might have seen some of these motors that I've been taking apart. They're just full of dust, completely full of dust. So get your hypo ones. ResMed says to change filters every 6 months. I say to change them every month. You can pick up a pack of 12 hypoallergenic ones for, it might cost you $50 for the year. every month, set a reminder, change it out. Your machine will last a whole lot longer. I guarantee it. So much longer than the hours that they say. What is it? 20,000 hours before you start getting the pop-up message. Anyway, let's get going. I've been wanting to. ResMed never answer my emails. I don't even send them from my email account. I send them from random emails account. They never answer them. Maybe they know they're coming from me somehow, but they never answer them. But I want to know if potentially you could cut up sort of, N95 or P2 material, like the antiviral masks that everyone wears, cut them into size and actually use them on the machine. I'm just not sure if they're too fine that the motor would have too much trouble getting the air through, getting enough airflow through. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, but I've sent them that message before to ask a few times and never get a reply. So coming down, anyone got any questions about the AB filters? I use hypo filters, but can I put two? Yeah, so I don't know, Kathy, about putting two filters in your machine. That's sort of the same reasoning I was saying before. If you put two filters in, does that resistance then make the motor struggle to get the airflow through those two filters? So for the time being, I would just put one hypoallergenic one in, but we'll just have to see. If anyone knows that answer to that question, I'd love to hear it. It does. The original filter looks transparent, and it is transparent. I think it's designed that way on purpose, to be honest. I think ResMed actually liked us getting into the machines because it means they get noisy and people go and buy another one, or they have to, their health insurance replaces it or whatever it is. But they're rubbish. The filters are rubbish. Joe just wants me to quickly answer this question. How does a higher tube temp help with congestion? And what is the average temperature we should use? So the higher the tube temperature, the more moisture. If you've got your climate control set to auto, the more moisture will be in the air. Heat and humidity, it's like hopping into a hot shower. It really, I'm just trying to think of the word. It really dilates the nasal passages. It opens them up. Just cold air shrinks them. Hot, moist air opens them up. That's sort of how it works. In the old days where people get, they get the boiling hot kettle and they fill up that bucket of water or whatever it is, and then they put a towel over their head and they just start, you got a cold. That's sort of the same. It's the same principle. It sort of opens up the nasal passages. And the beauty of that is the more open your nasal passages are, the more likely you're going to breathe through your nose. And that's brilliant because we really want to be breathing through our nose. When we're sucking the air through our mouth because we're congested or we can't get air in through our nose, that's when we get dry mouth and we get all those dry mouth symptoms. So when you bring air in through your nose, like I said before, it is a natural humidifier. It will heat it up. It will add moisture by itself. So we really want to try and be breathing through our nose. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Little like button. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the likes. Love it. Crocodile Dundee. I know, right? I'm really taking on that persona. I've got some G'day Mate shirts coming soon as well. You might start seeing them pop up. All right, let's keep going. We're getting there now. Now, the essentials. So when I go into the essentials here, you've got on or plus. The essentials is referring to the sleep data variables that you will see on the home screen. So the clinicians the clinicians get to decide normally whether or not you get access to the full data variables, which is the plus, or just the essentials, just the basic stuff. So we definitely want to have the plus, okay? We definitely want the plus because we want to be able to see as much data as possible on the home screen. So essentials, put it on plus, and then I'll show you that when we go to the home screen later, the basic patient menu. Smart Start is automatic on, automatic off. So we can set it to on or off. So when we set smart start to on, it's smart start and smart stop. Okay, and what that means is when you put your mask on, if you start breathing through that mask, sometimes you have to breathe a little bit heavy so that it can register. If you put that on, the machine will know you're breathing and it will start delivering the therapy pressure. And vice versa, when you take that mask off, it'll know that you've taken the mask off because there's not that pressure, that back pressure anymore because of your face isn't there. It'll stop the therapy. It's quite good. Let's just say you're one of those people who have made up one of those great bedside tables with a little shelf and you've sound insulated it and got it in there. It's kind of cool because you don't have to be fiddling around with where your machine is. You can just put your mask on, start breathing, start, and take it off and it'll stop. So pretty handy little feature. Sometimes they can be a little bit fiddly and you're like, why isn't it stopping? Especially with the nasal pillow variety mask, because it can still feel the resistance there. So sometimes if your smart stop isn't working, you might have to just, instead of just taking the whole mask off your head and just throwing it on the bed, you might have to just disconnect the mask at the tubing there and it will stop. Just with some of the machines, it can be a little bit fiddly. Then we've got reminders, pretty basic sort of stuff here. You can set reminders. It's basic, but for some of you, it's quite important. You probably don't really need a mask reminder because most of you will know when your mask needs replacing because the straps will look like crap or it'll be leaking. Same with the water tub. You know, if your water tub's starting to look really average or it's leaking, as some of these do, or it's just got a whole bunch of grime in it, you know, you just got to replace it. The tube, when it comes to the tube, like, it's worthwhile every now and again just inspecting the tube and having a bit of a look around the tube just to make sure there isn't little holes. Normally the tubes will wear where they connect to the machine or where they connect to your mask. That's what I find. You find just from that frequent bending and moving at those two areas, you'll start to sometimes notice holes in there. But if you've got cats and things like that as well, just have a little bit of an inspection with your tube every week, make sure it's okay. The filter is probably the big one, guys. I honestly would just put a filter on monthly, every month. Start at first of every month. Hypo filter in, hypo filter out. 12 filters a year. It's just gonna work wonders for your machine. It'll work wonders as well for your breathing because you're gonna have less dust and crap coming down the tube. All right, so go back up to the top there. Now we've got the configuration. This is where you can change things like your language, the date of your device there, the time of your device as well. Make sure that's all accurate. The pressure units, you can change the pressure units between centimeters H2O. We won't go into the technical side of the different pressure units. It's just ways to measure the pressure, the airflow. That's all it is, guys. So, but you can change it to HPA or centimeters H2O if you want. The temperature, for those in the States, you're on Fahrenheit. We're in Celsius down here, the land down under. And then we've got restore default. So if you just want to restore your machine back to factory settings, the way it was delivered to you straight out of the box, you can do that. If you want to erase the data, so all the data on your device, give yourself a clean slate. You could do that. Maybe you've purchased a second-hand machine from someone and you just want to completely wipe the machine, restore defaults, erase data, and then just set it up fresh. You could do that as well. Then we come down to the About section. So all you do is click, it's quite straightforward. It says, are you sure? Erase all data. You go to yes, click it, and you do that. Then we've got the last one is the About section. It's going to have stuff like your serial number. This is really cool where it says run hours and it's got 0 there. So if you're buying a second-hand machine, that's kind of what you want to look at, how many hours are on the blower motor. You can reset that if you are like a DM, like certain DMEs have the ability to reset the run hours. I'll tell you why in a sec. So the run hours is basically, it's like an odometer in your car, tells you, or on your boat motor, basically tells you how many hours the motor's been running for. Each night you've got 8 hours. And these machines have a lifespan of 5 years. That's what they say. But the hours, after a certain amount of hours, you might have seen some of my videos on this topic, ResMed starts pushing up these notifications on your screen saying that the motor has passed its use by date. It's past its design lifespan, whatever you want to call it. I think it was 24,000 hours, so which works out to be about 8 years. So it's pretty generous, really. I think that's dropping down. I have a feeling the AirSense 11 is probably down at the 20,000 hour mark. Could be completely wrong, but it just seems like it's sort of gradually dropping. All right, but that's where you can see that. I'll just quickly check the chat here. The hose cover is cool. Yep, great work with the hose cover. Cool. Everyone seems to be. How important is it to change these parts on a regular basis? Look, it's important to a certain degree, because if you're not changing your mask cushion and it's leaking all over the place, yes, it's going to be unpleasant, but it's also going to affect your therapy as well. So just use your common sense, guys. You know, you don't have to change them every 3 months like ResMed tells you to change the cushions. You know, they want you buying more, obviously, but just use your common sense. If it's looking tatty and it's not working, change it over. All right. People do hold on to things for far too long, but I understand, because some of the gear is pretty expensive. So I do understand it, but just change it when it needs to be changed. All right, keep coming down. So we've got our CX number here as well, just more numbers about your device. This is your serial number for your humidifier. So if you ever want to find any sort of serial numbers for warranties or things like that with ResMed, this is where you find all that sort of stuff. A little bit about the internal cellular modem. And we'll be doing a few more talks on this in the recent months, because ResMed have dug themselves a little hole. So you can see here with mine, we've got the provider, which is Vodafone AU Australia. The type of cellular modem, you can see mine here. This is a brand new machine. That's what I've been talking about. A brand new machine with a 3G cellular modem. For those of you that don't know what a cellular modem is, it is a modem inside the device that transmits the data to cell towers. So, you know, the big cell towers that you see all around the place. This machine is sending the data to the cell towers, and it's using those cell towers then to beam that data straight to ResMed's piggy bank. Now it's going straight to ResMed servers. And it's one of the things that I really hate about ResMed, because when I got this machine, you know, like as soon as I turn it on, it's beaming all that information to ResMed. They don't ask me if they can do it. They just do it. They just get it all. And there's no real way to turn it off. So if I don't want ResMed getting my data, the only way I can turn it off is by going and taking off there's a few ways, but you've got to disconnect the cellular modem, you've got to take the machine apart and take out this cable from the cellular modem. Yes, you can turn it into flight mode, but that's annoying as well, because every day they'll put up a notification saying, do you want to turn off flight mode? And it's just a pain in the ass. So they should give you the option to turn the cellular modem off if you don't want it on. I think it's black and white as far as I'm concerned. I'll field some questions here on the 3G stuff, because people think I'm getting my panties in a knot over nothing, whereas I think it's a legitimate concern for myself. So what have we got? Patrice. See, they got you, mate. They got you to update that S9 to the AirSense 10 because they got you with the sneaky marketing message. If you had to see my video, you would have probably not upgraded, but it happens, mate. That's why they do it. So, is there a SIM card or is it an eSIM? No, it's not a SIM card. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It must be an eSIM. It's got a little antenna inside it, and yeah, I don't actually know, to be honest, how it all works, but I just know it annoys the shit out of me. Yeah, you can disconnect it. It's just annoying. I just feel that you shouldn't have to disconnect it. You should just have a menu setting where you can click do not transmit data or switch off cellular modem on off. ResMed made a very conscious decision. This is the thing. It was a very, very conscious decision to make it this way so that there was no choice, so that there was no ability to take a cellular modem out. They made it this way on purpose because they saw how valuable health data is. Health data is extremely valuable for these companies. ResMed know it. All the companies know it. Apple know it. Data, you might have heard it before. Data is gold. It is gold, guys. You can guarantee they are profiting off this data. Is guaranteed. Yes, it'll help them make their products better in the future. I understand that. Yes, it's great because you can remotely monitor patients. All fantastic stuff. It really is. But making it so you don't have an option to turn it off is not cool. That's a slippery slope. Imagine this Apple Watch here. And when I put it on, Apple just was like, no, we're taking, whether you don't have an option here. We're taking your heart rate. We're taking how many steps you've done. We're taking where you've been. We're just taking it all. And there's no option there for you to turn it off. Bad luck. You know, like people would be in uproar. But for some reason, when it comes to sleep data, it's more than sleep. It's just more than just your dreams. It's a whole bunch of stuff. No one seems to care, but I care. Data mining. They're data mining. That's exactly what they're doing. No, we don't know if ResMed resells the data, but that's the thing. They'll be making money with it. I can guarantee you, in some way or another. So I'm going to do a video actually on the DreamStation 1. I've been putting up a few polls on that lately. It is personally my favorite device. Prior to Foamgate, don't shoot me. Prior to Foamgate. Now I'm not saying, and I've hated Philips for a long time as well, but the actual DreamStation 1 is brilliant. And one of the things I love about it is it has this great little slot there where you can put in a Bluetooth module. You can put in a Wi-Fi modem to connect to your home Wi-Fi. You can put in a cellular modem if you want to do remote monitoring, beam your data to the cell towers. You can do all those things. And if you need to change them, let's just say 3G goes down, it's simple. You just put a new one in. Beautiful. All right? It's absolutely beautiful. Whereas ResMed, the email I got back was, the first email I got back to them was talk to the clinic where you got it from. The clinic sent me back to ResMed. And then they said, when it happens, you're just going to have to send your machine in and we'll fix it. Well, that's annoying. Who pays for the postage? How long is it going to be away for? It's just, I don't know. I don't like it. Anyway, we're moving on. I'm sorry. I'm wasting your time here, guys. But the 3G stuff is a pain in the butt. So that's it. That's the clinical menu that we've just gone through there, right down to the bottom. So to get back out, we just go back up to the top. I think I can just press home actually. I just press home. Yeah, I could have just pressed home. And then exit clinical menu. All right, so that's the clinical menu. Now we'll just go and do a little bit of stuff on the data side of things. I think that's important, and how you can use that data to work out those min and max pressure settings of your AutoSet. or also your fixed pressure if you want to as well. So when we go to our sleep report here, let's go through something here. Now I've got the ResMed page on here as well. I know it all, but it's just the way they word it's pretty good. So cheers. Thanks for joining me. It's great to be with you all. Oh, I might stop for a little drinks break in a second, just pour myself another. So the first one here, usage hours. The number of hours the device has been used during the last session. So the last session is the night before. You wake up and it says 7.5 hours. That's how long you used for. Pretty straightforward. The events per hour. This is your apnea and hypopnea index. How many times per hour you were having an event. Not normal breathing, bad breathing. So the apnea is the bad one. So an apnea is a reduction in flow of 75% or more for a period of 10 seconds in length. And I'll give you a little bit of a analogy for this. So think of your breathing like a wave. All right, so it's a wave. And this wave is going up 1 meter, and then it's going down 1 meter, and then coming up 1 meter, going down 1 meter. That's your breathing. In, out, in, out. Now, if that wave's going up 1 meter and down 1 meter, when we're having apnea, right, the wave height has to come down from that meter right down to 25 centimeters or less. That's the reduction in the flow. So that's our airway getting really narrow. And because it's getting really narrow, the flow, that our wave, our inhalation, exhalation, it's shrinking. It's getting really small. And if that happens for 10 seconds or more in length, we call that an apnea. Now, a hypopnea is very similar, but it's just the wave height doesn't have to come down as far. So instead of coming down 75%, like a long way, there's a big restriction. It's only coming down 40%. So let's just say it's coming down from 1 meter to 60 centimeters. So there's a bit more air coming through. It's still restrictive, but at the same time, we're not stopping breathing. And that's a real common misconception that I see a lot of people talking about, a lot of you guys and also on the forums. When they go see the doctor and they go, I stopped breathing 100 times an hour when I did my study. Well, there are some people who do completely stop breathing. There is no airflow. It's flatlined out. But for the vast majority of people, it's not completely stopping breathing. There is some flow. It's just a big reduction in the flow. And it's important to look at the apnea hypopnea index to sort of give you an idea of that. But don't sort of let them scare you and go, you stop breathing 100 times an hour, you should be dead, because most of the time there is airflow. There is some air coming in there. It's just a reduction in airflow. And this is where the apnea hypopnea index can also be a little misleading. It's great to use as a guide, but it can be misleading. And I'll give you an example. So let's just say someone's got an apnea hypopnea index of 40. All right, but most of that is hypopneas. Okay, so there's just that, let's just say there's that 40% reduction in flow, and they're quite short. Now, another person has an apnea hypopnea index of 10, right? But they're like 30, 40 second long apneas, and there's a 90% reduction in the flow, and their oxygen levels are dropping down to 60%. I would be more worried about the person with the apnea hypopnea index of 10, even though it's classified as mild, compared to the guy that has 40 events per hour, but they're mild hypopnea events, very short in nature. Maybe the oxygen levels only dropping down 4%. So don't want to get too complex on you guys, but the apnea hypopnea index is great as a guide, but it's a number. All right, so we'll keep moving. Where are we? Mask seal. So with the mask seal, we can either get a smiley face or a sad face. And to get a smiley face, 70% of the night, we need to have a mask leak of 24 liters or less. So that 24 liters, once again, it's a number, but ResMed have chosen it as their number where they consider to be good. If your values are below 24 liters per minute in terms of your mask leaking, that's considered by ResMed to be good. Now, I think perhaps the machine, the AirSense 10, can do what's called leak compensation, can compensate for that leak up to that value, but potentially when it gets above that value, it no longer has the ability to compensate for the leak. So that's potentially why they have chosen that value there. But if you can get 70% of the night below that value, you're going to wake up with a lovely little smiley face from ResMed, and you can put a gold star on your fridge. All right. Now, the next one down is humidifier. Now, I don't know really why they've got this little smiley face humidifier, but basically all that says is, yeah, your humidifier was on and it was working. It was working. If your humidifier is no longer working, then you're going to get a red face. All right, so that's really all that tells there. Now, so this more info part, you can see here as I'm scrolling down, I've got a lot of values now. That's because when I was in the clinical settings before, remember I was in the clinical settings and I changed that essentials thing to plus. We had like just the essentials, or we had the plus. This is when we add the plus, this is what it gives us. That's why it gives us all this stuff. So if your machine doesn't have all these values like I do here on mine, like a massive sleep report, then you need to go into the clinical settings and change that to plus so that you get all these. And we'll go through them. They're pretty straightforward. So you can here change the period. Basically, how much data you want to look at averaged out. So we can look at 1 day, the last day. We can look at 1 week's average data, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. I personally like to look at averages, weekly averages or monthly averages. Those two are fine, just because the goal isn't to get every apnea every night of your life. That's not the goal. The goal is really just to take a bit of stress off the body so that we're not having too much stress. That's all it's doing. So I like to look at the week averages. So we'll just go through and look at the week here. There's a brand new machine. I haven't used it. I've been using the AirSense 11. So days used is basically how many days did you use it in that week? Did you use it 6 days, 5 days, 4 days? Days 4 hours plus is out of those days you used it, how many did you use it for over 4 hours? They use the 4 hours as a bit of a guide as to it being beneficial to you. I think any hours is going to be beneficial. Obviously, the more you can sleep with it, the better. However, don't feel too discouraged. If you have 3 hours with your CPAP and then after that, it's frustrating you and you just want to take it off and get a good night, like not a good night's sleep for the other 5 hours, that's just a guide there, 4 hours. Average usage is you take all of the hours over those days. Let's just say you used it for 7 nights, you used it 1 night 5, 1 night 6, averages all those numbers out and gives you your average usage for the week. All right, most of you hopefully are up around that 7 to 8 hours mark. Used hours is the total hours. So 6 hours the first night, 7 hours the second night, 5 hours, you just add them all up and it gives you the used hours. Now the pressure, that other stuff is like what we call like summary data, compliance data, just to give the clinicians an idea as to how well and how often you're using your machine. This stuff down here under pressure is more important. This is the stuff we really want to have a look at. So your leak is liters per minute. And once again, because we're looking at the 7-day averages, this is averaged out. And we saw before that ideally we want to get below 24. But it's not a big concern. It really isn't. If you're a bit higher than that, unless it's really bothering you. But the more leak that's going out of your mask or out of your mouth, that means there's less pressure going where it needs to be at the back of the throat. Okay, it's also going to dry you out more and make the therapy noisier. So if we can get our leak lower, the better. So have a look at leak. Apnea-hypopnea index. We talked about that before. Your apneas and hypopneas per hour averaged out over that period, the 7 days. Ideally under 5, but once again, it's not everyone's. It's if you've come down from 90, apnea-hypopnea index of 90, and you're using your therapy and you've got it down to, let's just say, an average of 9, that's an A+. That's an A+. All right. Sure, by all means, tinker around with the settings and try and get it as low as possible, but do not be discouraged if you cannot get it under 5. All right. I just want to say that because a lot of people get too hung up on it, and it really grinds my gears. And then we've got our total apnea index. So the apnea-hypopnea index is made up of the apneas and the hypopneas. The apnea index is just the apneas. How many apneas? Remember, reduction in flow of 75% or more over 10 seconds. So the apneas are the bad ones. And then we have central apneas. Now, central apneas, there's not actually a blockage. There is no restriction in our airway. Our airway is open. It's just there's a bit of a signal fault. I've got one. Bit of a signal fault going from our brain to our diaphragm, to our lungs, telling us to breathe. So the airway's open. It's just we've got a pause in our breathing. All right. So normally with central apneas, we use more advanced forms of therapy, ASV, BiPAPs, and so forth. So if you're seeing large numbers in that central apnea column, you need to speak to your sleep and respiratory physician about that. When I'm talking large numbers like 10, 15, 20. Now, sometimes what can happen is if your pressures are too high, it can actually cause central apnea. It can throw your breathing off. So if you're seeing a lot of central apneas, the first thing you might want to do is actually drop your pressure down a little bit and to see if that actually reduces the central apnea index. Called like pressure-induced central apnea. It's actually really common. So that's just something to think about. Cool. Now, I missed one here. Did anyone pick up on that? I missed like the most important one. The pressure. So what the pressure is here, this value right there, this is the most important one when it comes to an AutoSet. It says in the manual that it's the average pressure, I think, from memory, but it's a bit misleading. It's not the average pressure. It's the 95th percentile pressure, and that is a confusing word. But basically what that tells us is that for 90% of the night, the pressure was at that value or below. At that value or below. So I always like to give an example. We look at our sleep report and it says pressure 9. 95% of the night, your pressure was 9 or below. It was only above 9 for 5% of the night. Now, it might have been up at 14 or 15 or 20 for all we know, but for the majority of the night, 95%, it was 9 or below. It's really important information to know. So make sure you really understand that one. Does everyone understand that value there? 95th percentile. Now, because I'm looking at that 7-week range, 7-day range, sorry, it's taking all those each day. It's taking that 95th percentile. One day it might be 8, one day it might be 10, one day it might be 9. It's averaging them out over the week, and then it's going, cool. So over the week, this is the average. All right, and I'll show you how we can use that value in a second with setting our auto set ranges, our min and our max pressure. That's the value that we use a lot in the lab. So I'll explain that now, and I'll show you that. So let's use an example. I've used my machine. Oh, sorry about that. I'm getting carried away. Let me just reset up here. All right. So I've used my machine for the week. I'm looking at my averages, and I've seen that the pressure is 9. Let's go right in the middle, 10. Okay. So I basically know from that value that really, in order to control the vast majority of my apnea, that's sort of where I'm at. So when I go into my, we'll go back into the clinical settings now. So once again, we hold down our 2 buttons, hold them down simultaneously. Once again, sorry for the bad nails, fixing up my boat. So we go back into our clinical settings. Now, let's just say I had my max pressure here up at 20 originally. All right, have my max pressure up here at 20. And I've just seen that my 95th percentile pressure, my average pressure on that sleep report was 10. Okay, it was 10. 95% of the night, it's below 10 or below. Now, what I can do is, and I'll show you why we do this. If we bring this level down to somewhere closer to that number, somewhere closer to 10, let's just say 11. Let me go 11. We're getting a really good chunk of control with our therapy, but we're getting rid of all those outliers where, like I said before, the pressure might be a lot higher and causing us to wake up throughout the night. Mask leaks, annoyances, the missus or the husband giving you elbows in the ribs, and you're hating it. It really, yes, we're sacrificing a little bit of control there. But if we bring that down and cap it there, we're probably getting rid of all those periods where the pressure was excessively high. And we can cycle back to that report again tomorrow, that sleep report, and have a look at the 1 day, or, have a look at the 1 day and have a look at what our apnea-hypopnea index is and see what the changes were. I can guarantee for most of you, you'll probably find that they're actually better. I know that doesn't make much sense, but you'll probably find that they actually improve for some of you. So you'll get an improvement, but at the same time as well, you'll notice that you're not having these little periods in the night where that automatic machine, the automatic's going and blowing your face off. Okay. Like I said before, we're not trying to tame every single apnea event that ever was. We're just trying to take a bit of that stress off our body, just let it relax so that it's not starved of oxygen and it's not interrupting our sleep cycle every night. That's the goal, guys. Sometimes people, they're like, oh, I can't get my apnea index under 7. It's really annoying me. And I say, well, look, if you've done your best and that's what you've got to, so be it. If I said to you for the next hour, while you're walking around watering your garden, you had to hold your breath for 10 seconds. That's it. 7 times in that hour, you had to hold your breath for 10 seconds. What impact do you think that is going to have on your body? Do you think your body's going to be really stressed for holding your breath for, 10, 15 seconds, 7 times in the hour? Do you think of all the stress your body's under already? Alcohol, smoking, bad food, sugar, stress from kids. And then, so just think of it like that, guys. Sort of take a bit more of a holistic approach. All right, what do we got? I've ignored the chat for too long. Let's go. Yeah, guys, don't hang around if you've got things to do. Appreciate your time, but I'm sure there's a lot of better things you can be doing with your time as well. Yeah, I will. I'll make the video full for you on YouTube. No problem. So you can go back to it after. It's cool. You guys can go back. I'll be keen to go back and check out the chat properly as well. It's hard to sort of look at you guys, but at the same time, check out the chat. So I'll definitely go back there and look at it. That's a good one, Mike. Got some great questions there, mate. How does it tell the difference between central and normal apnea? It has this little pulse thing that it does. It shoots these little oscillations, these little pulses of pressure down. And then from that, it can sense as to whether or not it's open or closed. I think I actually wrote it down, to be honest, because I thought someone might actually ask that question. But that's how it does it. It's a bit more technical than that. Yeah, forced oscillation technology. That's the scientific word. 1 centimeter H2O peak-to-peak oscillating pressures at 4 hertz. It shoots these little waves. Some guys notice it and they find it really annoying. If you ever notice these little pulsings, that's what it's doing. The machine's trying to figure out whether or not your apnea is central or obstructive, but that's how it does it. It's pretty advanced sort of stuff. So whoever came up with that is doing pretty well. Do you guys want to know about like cleaning side of stuff, batteries, travel, any sort of other stuff? Should I keep going, or have you had enough? What do you reckon? Yep, I'm going to do a video on every machine. This has been fun. I've enjoyed it. I'll do one on the sleep style. I've got a meeting with Fisher & Paykel, actually. They want to have a chat to me about something. That'll be interesting. They're going to actually drive up to where I live. So, looking forward to that. Hopefully they want to offer me a job. Batteries would be good. All right, let's do this a little bit on batteries because everyone gets a bit confused with batteries. So ResMed devices, the AirSense 10, the S9, AirSense 10, AirSense 11 are all 24 volt machines. That's the important thing you need to know there. They run on 24 volts. Even when you plug it into the wall socket at home, that's why it has that little block. The block is turning the voltage, the AC voltage. So you might be in America at 115 volts. I think that's what you guys are, 110, 115. We're 230 here, or it'll be 240. I don't know, one or the other. It's turning the voltage, the AC voltage, into DC 24 volts. That is what the machine is running on all the time, even when you're plugging into your wall socket at home. So when it comes to using a battery system, you have two options. You can, one, buy a 24 volt battery. If you have a 24 volt battery and the same cable that runs into your AirSense 10, you know, the same tip, the machine will run. It'll run because 24 volts going straight into the machine. Machine's a 24 volt machine. Bob's your uncle. If you want to use it with a 12 volt battery, what do we need to do? All right, you've got a 12 volt battery. The machine runs on 24 volts. We have to convert the 12 volts into 24 volts. So that's when you need a DC converter. It's doing a conversion. It's converting the 12 volts, like your car's 12 volts, truck's 12 volts. You know, any of those cigarette plugs, most of them, not all of them, but most of them are 12 volt plugs. You know, if you want to blow up a mattress, you plug the 12 volt cord into the 12 volt cigarette plug. So a lot of these companies like ResMed, they sell DC converters made by ResMed, manufactured by ResMed for their machines. So you can go, they charge through the nose, of course. But you can also get, I might have one in there. You can also get ones off Amazon. So if you go into Amazon and type AirSense 10 DC converter, you'll find them on Amazon for like $30 and they work fine. They do the exact same thing. Right? I've been using one for years and it's $30. Works totally fine. So that's the sort of the battery side of things. When it comes to using batteries with your machines, you really need to turn off that heated tube and humidifier because it just draws too much power. That heater plate just draws way too much. The blower itself doesn't draw much at all. Okay, if you want to use your heated tube and humidifier with a battery system, you're going to need like a big ass battery, like 40 amp hours. Like it just draws so much, and you probably get one night out of it. If you've got a big deep cycle car battery, 150 amp hour, that'll do the job. Don't get me wrong, but it'll weigh 30 kilos as well. But if you're wanting sort of portable batteries, turn off your heated tube and humidifier. You might have seen the video I did before. You can grab yourself this little part, which is your little side cover plate. Take out your humidifier chamber, plug that in. So yeah, there's lots of ones available these days. Medistrom do a good little one that's 98 watt hours. Basically, it'll run it for a single night on a single charge. But being under 100 watt hours, you can take it on planes. And they do a straight out 24 volt battery. So once again, no conversion needed. 24 volts straight into your machine. So that's a good one that a lot of people use. You can use them for power blackouts. You can use it when you're going camping. You can take your machine on an aeroplane. They are FAA compliant. If you're taking them traveling, from memory, you can log on to the ResMed website. Just jump on the ResMed website and you can print off a little document to take with you when you're going through the airport, just in case someone stops and goes, "What's that bomb you're carrying?" You can give them that and say, "Sorry, mate, sleep apnea device. I'm good to go." But yeah, long haul flights. People use their machines on long haul flights all the time, especially if you're someone who's going to keep the cabin up with all your snoring. No, the side plate doesn't turn off the humidifier, my friend. It's manual. Let's go through some of these questions here. So does the S8 have the same settings? Thanks for the information. The S8, which was a fantastic machine, does not have all the same settings. There is no climate line on the S8, so it won't have the climate control sort of stuff. They brought the climate control, the climate line tubing, the heated tube in on the S9. And the S8 is actually a 12 volt machine. So when they changed the S9, they made it 24 volts. I used to love the S8 because it was a 12 volt machine, but it also had a really tricky cable that plugged into the back that had a negative polarized center pin. So a lot of people would go and grab a DC cable and whack it in their machine, and they'd blow up their machine because it was a positive center pin instead of a negative center pin. So, but they had some problems with the S8. That's why now, so the S8 had the power block, the power block that you have, they had it inside the machine. And they had to do a big recall on it because some machines were catching fire, that power block. And that's why they moved that power block to the outside now. So if there is any problems with the power, if it catch fires on the outside of the machine, it's a lot better in terms of doing a recall. You just got to go, okay, cool. All we've got to do now is just get new blocks. Whereas with the S8, they had to just do a massive recall on them. There you go. A little bit of history 101 from Uncle Nico. Inverter. You can use an inverter. So what an inverter does is it changes like DC battery power. It makes it like a wall socket. It changes it into AC, just like you're plugging in at home. But the conversion itself, changing it from the DC battery voltage to your AC current, like in your home, like in your wall, that conversion is a lot of the power from the battery actually goes to doing that conversion. They're not that efficient in doing the conversion. You lose a lot of power converting. So I don't really think you need to do inverter unless you've got a Fisher & Paykel machine, because unfortunately, Fisher & Paykel are the only CPAP manufacturers that don't work on, machines aren't DC. They're all AC. They're designed just to work straight into the wall socket. And that's why you don't have that. You don't have a power block with a sleep style or an icon. There's no power block. Straight into the wall, straight AC power, which is fine, but not great when you are going camping or you want to use it with a battery. Because if you want to use it with a battery, there's only one way you can do it, and that is with an inverter that basically turns that battery into AC power, like your wall. All right. Yeah. G'day, Renee. Glad to see you. Renee's another mod on our Facebook group. She's probably the most active mod of all time. She's fantastic. So organized. So organized. That Facebook group. So our Facebook group's CPAP reviews. I do have a page as well, but I don't do anything on that page. So make sure you're on the group one. I'll see if I can put a link somewhere in the description later on. But yeah, if you're on Facebook, head on over there. It's great. It's really well run by Renee. I get on there and put in my 2 cents here and there as well, and just it's great to see what everyone's chatting about, and it's really good. It's a great group. It's 6,500 members in about 4 or 5 months, so it's cranking along. Really cool. I'll just see what else we got here. So yeah, head on over. You've got nothing else to lose. Everyone's really friendly on that group. I'm a member on some of the other groups as well, and they get pretty tiring pretty quickly because everyone's just bitchy and carries on like a pork chop. But our group's pretty cool. Can you use a sleep style on a plane? Yeah, well you can, but it's just hard because you've got to get your battery and then your inverter, and you probably need 200 plus watts, a 200 plus watt inverter. If you can go 300, that should do you fine. Oh yeah, I'm part of that group too, Joe. Yeah, the Philips recall, the original Philips recall Facebook group. You must have a few copycats, do you? Yours is the best, Joe. No, that's a good group too. I think, Joe, in the next 1 to 2 months, there should be some very interesting information coming out regarding that recall, because we'll get all the Philips lab test results. Jay Dizzle, McNizzle, Shanizzle, g'day, buddy. Cheers to you too. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Christine. Denise, I'm glad you're enjoying the group too. What happened, Simon? What happened, buddy? I want to know about this Facebook jail. You didn't put up some post on Sharona, did you? That'll get you in jail pretty quickly. I want to hear about that though, Simon. I definitely want to know. I've never been in Facebook jail. I'm surprised. I've been in every other type of jail there is. Discuss INAP. I actually don't really know a whole lot about INAP. I watched Jason's videos on it. That seemed very interesting. The negative pressure. I'll definitely check it out though. I've got a lot of CPAP machines in the pipeline, guys. I've got the Lowenstein one. I've got the CFAM one. I've got the iDisc, which is bloody unreal. That's really cool. You're going to love the iDisc one that I do. Kick ass. Like that machine is going to make some big waves. There's some pretty cool masks coming out too, guys, soon that you'll love. Really going to shake things up. You're welcome, John. Now, what was I going to talk about? So batteries, we talked about travel on planes and stuff. Cleaning is pretty straightforward, really. It's not like you're going to go into the side of the machine and clean it out, although if you get to that level, I should do some videos on that because it's pretty straightforward to get in there and give it a good dust out. But really, all you want to be doing is just wiping down your machine with a dry cloth. Pretty basic stuff. It's all in the manual. The distilled water thing, we won't go down that rabbit hole too much. Just use the distilled water if you can, guys. I know there seems to be a bit of a shortage at the moment. I don't know what's going on with the shortage of distilled water, but distilled water means you're not going to get all the minerals and deposits building up on your machine. If you can't find it, you can boil some water, let it cool down. It's not really going to make a massive difference to you. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to wake up with pneumonia or something the next day. So yeah, like if you can't find it, so be it. Boil some water, let it cool down, fill it up, and just empty it out. Fresh water the next day. Pretty straightforward stuff. When you're washing your mask, your humidifier chamber, your tubing, just warm soapy water. Real easy. Warm soapy water. Give it a bit of a wipe out if you want with a little cloth or whatever, and then just rinse all the water off. Let it dry. Put it back together. There is a little intake. I'll see if I can show you it quickly. You don't have to do this stuff all the time, but this is just something you might want to check every now and again in here. If I can, how can I do that? Hang on, where is it? Here. Sorry. that part in there comes out. It's pretty straightforward to do. You take your tubing off on the outside. And, oh, I just turned it on. And then that button there, right there, you push it. And that whole section comes out. If you don't want to be bothered getting it out, just get like a little wet one and just give that seal a bit of a clean. And also that seal a bit of a clean. They get moldy real quick because of the warm, moist air. So you will get a lot of black mold and stuff building up in there. For those of you who have never cleaned them and you get a wet one, you know, like a baby wipe or whatever, you'll probably get a little shock because a lot of the time you wipe them out and you're like, oh dear, that's not good. You can get a little tube brush. A lot of people use a little tube brush. You can buy them, get them on Amazon, eBay, wherever. Use a little tube brush. That's pretty cool. What else? The filter once a month. It's pretty basic, guys. It really is. There's not a whole lot else you can really do with it. You might not know with the humidification chamber that this whole part you can take off. You might have seen me do a video on it. So just here at the edge, just makes it a little bit easy to clean. You can take that whole lid off. You see two parts. And then this part here also comes off. A lot of people sort of don't know that. So it just makes it a little bit easier. If you once a week you want to do a bit of more of a thorough clean, do that. Mask sort of stuff's pretty easy as well. You can get mask wipes. A lot of people get mask wipes and stuff. You want to be avoiding obviously the ozone stuff at the moment. There is a cleaner that I'm going to do a video on, which is called the Lumen. Now the Lumen is FDA approved, I found out, and it uses UV sterilization. So I'm going to check out the docs on that and definitely do some videos on the Lumen, because not that the FDA approved is the be all end all, but if they've got it through and they've got the proper docs, I'll be certainly interested to see how that works. Does anyone have a Lumen on here? I think they're about maybe $200. Tell me if anyone's got a Lumen. I'm just going to pour a quick drink. Give me 1 sec. Yeah, so the white vinegar is pretty good. Definitely. You just got to dilute it down. Yes. So yeah, Lainey, she's got herself a Lumen. She seems to be enjoying it. I'll definitely check it out. Has anyone got any other questions that you want to ask? Do you want to talk about something other than CPAP? Feel free. I'm an open book. So go for your life. I will tell you some good news actually while I got you. And that is that ResMed has now authorized the retailers to start selling the AirSense 11 online. So I'm not sure if you knew this, but ResMed basically blacklisted all the retailers and said, do not sell the AirSense 11 online until we say you can. They couldn't even do blog posts on the AirSense 11. I shit you not. I know a company that did a blog post, just a little blog post just about some of the features, and ResMed sent their henchmen to tell them to take the blog post down. They weren't even selling it online. So what this means basically is, like anything being sold online, you're going to get competition, I imagine, competition in pricing. You should start to see some of those prices come down as long as there's a bit of supply that comes online. I think we should see some supply start to come through soon. That's probably why ResMed are letting the retailers start to sell them online, because I imagine they're sort of catching up with their manufacturing supply chain. Things will start to ease. The Omicron stuff starting to die off a little bit. If you follow any of those trends. What else have we got? Thoughts on beards with masks. I don't like to tell anyone what to do with their beards, because beards are very personal. My dad's had a moustache for 50 years, and I saw the other day that on one post that the clinician or the doctor told some guy to shave his moustache mow off after he had it for 50 years, and he did it, and he hated doing it. So no, I'm not going to tell you to shave your beard off. However, I will tell you that CPAP therapy is much harder with facial hair, because it's very hard to get a good seal. So if you're not that attached to your beard and you feel like you look all right without it, then by all means shave it off. I'm sure most women prefer a clean shaven man. I know my wife does. But yeah, it's up to you, mate. You'll find that your mask seals a lot better though. But I do understand if you don't want to shave off your beard. I didn't want to shave mine off either. We're not going to go into ResMed's ethics. ResMed is a very sales-focused company, very sales-focused. And it probably comes down to, like when you're a corporate, like a corporation, and you've got shareholders, and you've got to get up there in front of the shareholders every annual report or whenever they do it, and you start missing sales targets or whatever the analysts think you're going to make. I imagine their questionable ethics comes from wanting to deliver good numbers. And, if you've got a lot of pressure on people coming up from high up in the company, you've got to hit this target, you've got to do this, make sure you get that. Sometimes people, they're going to miss out on their bonus or whatever it is. Yeah, they stuff up. We all stuff up. There's just some other things with ResMed. I just think they're like a bit of a bully in the industry. They've got so much market share, they don't need to be bullies. Everyone loves their products. So they've done heaps of stuff. There's heaps of stuff I haven't told you guys about, but I will one time. What about nose hairs? I had to trim my nose hairs the other day. After doing one of these videos, I noticed, I was like, what's that coming out of my nose? I was like, oh, it's a giant black hair. I've probably got some now. So I had to do a little bit of a trim. Yeah, trim it up, guys, if you can. Make you more attractive as well in the process. Yeah, sales is brutal, man. Exactly right. I don't think there's any side panels for the AirSense 11 yet. No, there's not. Yeah, I'll do a proper video on the YouTube channel for EPR for you, Joe. It probably confuses a lot of people. But just think of it for the time being as a comfort setting. The higher you have EPR, the more comfortable it is, the more easier it's going to breathe. You're going to be able to breathe. The better you get, though, at the therapy, you'll probably find you don't need it as much, because it's so easy to try EPR. That's the beautiful thing. Just try it out. See what you find most comfortable. Spend one night on 3, one night on 2, one night on 1, one night on off. Which one do you prefer? Just mark down your results, see what results you get the best, what's comfortable, and go from there. 3D printer. I'd love a 3D printer. I'd love to have my own mask, to be honest. I'm surprised someone hasn't come at me, asked me to get on board with a mask. I'll do a talk on EPR and CO2, man. But for the time being, don't stress. It'll be fine. The higher, so Joe, if you're concerned about the CO2, you want a high EPR. All right. So the higher the EPR, the more it's going to aid you in getting rid of excess CO2. Make the side panels, yes. They really should. ResMed should have continued with the split design. I don't know why they went to the single design. They must have had their reasons. I hope they go back to a split design like the ResMed S9. I've got an S9 somewhere, but I prefer being able to disconnect the whole humidifier. One of the reasons I like the DreamStation 1. Take the whole thing off when you're not using it. No side cover, no fiddly bits and pieces. Just take the whole thing off, tubing straight onto the pump. Away you go. Look, guys, there's not a whole lot left to talk about, to be honest. You got any other questions that aren't CPAP related? Any other stuff? We can talk about whatever you like. Everyone wants to keep talking about CPAP. Or I'll just keep talking about CPAP. Tree Sprite. In Aussie land, do you have trouble with rioters getting in your machine? Very much so, my friend. Very much so. We're a very passionate bunch here in Australia. Although it looks like they're even more passionate over in Canada at the moment, don't they? No, we've had our fair share of, we call them protests here, not riots. We've got the riot police that go to the protests and bash the protests when they're not behaving. But what are you drinking? I'll tell you what I'm drinking. And I haven't drunk this whole bottle today, by the way. It's just one from the other night. It's Irish whiskey. It's one of my favourites. Tullamore Dew. I also like Jameson. And I also like Canadian Club, would you believe? That 12-year Canadian Club. Some people think it's too sweet. I love it. And I normally don't drink it with Coke, but I'm feeling flat today. I honestly feel like I've got COVID. So we'll see how we go. What's with the Levi's gear? Great question, my friend. You know what? You know how you go into the shops and there's got all the different brands and you're just like, what t-shirt should I pick? I just decided once I was just going to really condense my options into one brand and just stick it out with that one brand so that when I do go shopping, I don't get like phased by so many different choices. I'm like, I've got one choice, Levi's, and that's what I've got. So I've got my blue t-shirt, my gray t-shirt, my white t-shirt, my black t-shirt, really simple. And I just wear the same thing, man. It just, remember how like Steve Jobs used to just wear that skivvy all the time? It's kind of like that, you know, not many options. When I go to my closet every day to pick out what I'm wearing, I'm like, great, that one there, that one there. So that's with the Levi's. I'm not sponsored by Levi's if that's what you're thinking. Yes, alcohol is very bad for your sleep. Very, very bad. It will increase your AHI. No doubt. No doubt for a number of reasons. I'll do a video. I'll do a great video for you all on alcohol. I'll wear this. This is the little O2 ring that I use quite a fair bit. It's really, really good little device. Blood oxygen level and your heart rate. And I'll show you, I'll wear one night where I don't drink and I'll do a night where I get on the terps. and you watch the difference. It's insane. I've done the test myself a few times, and it's just insane the difference. What alcohol, very very bad. Yeah, I it's a hard one, man. Giving up alcohol, I really should, to be honest. I had a little bit of a problem with it, probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago, just drinking too much every night, and then I made a little rule where I wouldn't drink Monday to Friday. That worked out really well. I got super fit. I was like machine, and then I went away for a little bit, went traveling with the family in a van around Australia. And then when we came back, just developed some bad habits. And then just since then, it's just been, yeah, I've wanted to, but just keep getting stuck. Joe, you got a really good chance of winning some O2 rings, mate. I'm going to be giving out heaps of them. I've got about 500 of them. So I'll be giving out a lot of O2 rings, buddy. So I'm not saying don't go and buy one. If you want to buy one, go and buy one. But there's a good chance you'll win one on the Wheel of Fortune. So, um, and they are great app. I'm actually helping develop an app for that O2 ring, an app that connects to this other platform I'm building out with some programmers at the moment that you guys are going to love. Really cool stuff. Really, really good stuff. I can't wait to show it to you. You're going to die. It's so good. Mm. Yep, I get congested too. Oh, no, I haven't heard of people getting perforated septums, but I can imagine how that could happen if you've got a really high pressure and a nasal pillow going straight up your nose. So sorry to hear that, but you might have to go and speak with a ENT and get them to have a look at it. But for the time being, I'd almost change to a full face mask if you are and drop your pressure down. Help you. I love these guys. What tour are we talking about? What are we talking about? Was it U2? Man, I'd love to go to a concert. Simon, you're going to love it. The O2 rings are honestly really, really popular. I mean, can I show you? Let me see what I can do here. No, I'm not going to be able to show you. So, my dad, God bless his soul, not a week goes by where he doesn't come to me with a request to take the O2 ring to give to his mates to see if they have sleep apnea. Now, it's not the same as a full blown sleep test, but it's a great, simple way to just screen people, and you can screen them really fast. And I can generally look at the graph straight away after and go, yeah, that looks pretty bad. All right, maybe not, or that needs a bit more investigating. But such a great way just to whack it on your thumb to see if you've got, as a screening tool. But there's a lot of other things you can use it for as well. It's got this vibrate function in it that's pretty fancy. So you can set thresholds for your blood oxygen and your heart rate. And if they go above or below certain thresholds, let's just take the oxygen levels for a second. Let's just say you set a threshold at, if your blood oxygen levels go below 90%, that ring will start and it'll wake you up out of sleep. So you might be someone who only has sleep apnea on your back, only when you're in supine. And you know that when you're on your side, your blood oxygen levels are fine. 96%, boom, straight on. When you go on your back, you have sleep apnea, blood oxygen levels drop, and you just want to be woken up if you're on your back because you don't want apnea. You can set these things up. You might be someone that has night terrors. If you're someone who struggles with night terrors and nightmares, you can set it up so if your heart rate goes above 120, when you're having a nightmare, it's going to buzz you and wake you up out of your dream, your bad dream. The only problem is as well, it's going to wake you up out of good dreams too. But you can't have your cake and eat it too, can you? But it's a great little device. The app's cool. It's super easy to use. I love seeing people sharing their little graphs on all the Facebook pages. Yeah, see you guys. I've got to go too. What has it been? 2.5 hours. We've done well. And I think we covered a lot of information on the AirSense 10 there. I hope you enjoyed it all. I will try and do some more of these. I've certainly found it enjoyable. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've also been a little bit nervous because I have heard that it can be a little bit like you're talking to yourself. Whereas with you guys, heaps of questions coming through. I can see you're really engaged and you want to learn about all this stuff. So the app is called ViHealth, ViHealth. But there's going to be a REM sleep version of it that's going to be better. But for the time being, ViHealth, ViHealth. You're welcome, Joe. You're a legend. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. I might do a video on adding oxygen to CPAP therapy. Good luck, Peter. Good on you guys. Cheers, Andy. Don't worry, Andy. You can just watch the replay, mate. Don't stress. I'll hang around for 2 seconds for you. Nice one, Mo. Oh, Joe, you're a tough man to please. I'll tell you that much. Going through 50,000 comments and trying to find the questions that I missed. I don't know, mate. I think these chats are going to be, lots of questions, and I'll just have to pick a few and we'll see how we go. But what I will do is I will have a bit of a skim over and look for potential topics to discuss in the futures. So it should be good. But thanks for tuning in, buddy, and good luck with your little Facebook group. Hopefully, what are you going to do when the Dream Station recall ends? You'll have to rename it. Maybe rename it. What can you rename it? I don't know. You'll have to find some way to repurpose and refocus all that negative Phillips energy. Maybe make a real positive Facebook group, mate. We all need a bit of positivity. Nice, man. Nice one, Mark. Good stuff. What did you pay for your AirSense 10, Alex, if you don't mind me asking? Hang on. Hold up. What have we got, David? David, my mum's trying to call me. Are you pulling my leg? Come on, Dave. I was just about to hang up the phone, mate. And you've got me wanting more now. I need to know about this. It's Saturday. I don't want to have to go and research Philips Respironics. Tell me what's going on. Dave, can you send me this information? I'm just going to put if I put my email down here, I'm going to get flooded. Dave, can you put the link there, mate, in the comments? I want to see this. You've got to be joking. Thanks, man. Oh, great. Tell us about yourself, Dave. What do you do? I want to hear this, man. Dave's an insider. He's in the business. I was hoping a few people in the business might be joining the chat. Poor old Respironics getting shafted. Not Respironics' fault, by the way. It's Philips. Respironics seemed like they were a reasonable company. Philips, on the other hand, are a bunch of fuckwits. Nice one. Nice work, man. Go on, give your company a little plug on the platform. What's the company's name? I'm shaking in my boots. Oh, they heard from Respironics reps. Customers called me today and said they heard from Respironics reps. So we're talking about information that's been handed down. So we don't quite know if this is full on true. What do they call it? Third degree information. It'll be interesting though. I'll be keen to check that out. I'm sure they'll love another little video from yours truly talking about how they stuffed up again. Can't sell heated tubes. I wonder if that's why the bloody DreamStation 2 doesn't come with heated tubes. That's why. I was wondering that. So when I got my DreamStation 2, I'm like, where the hell is the bloody heated tube on the... I couldn't get a heated tube. This could be the reason. No heated tubes. God. Just useless. Oh, David's a manufacturer of tubes, filters, and other products. There you go. Damn. Well, yeah, I will, man. Actually, let's see if I can DM you right now. Can I? I can add you as a moderator. All right, Dave, I'm just going to write your name down there, buddy. Where can I write that down? I'll remember it, David Fletcher. I'll look you up, Dave. That'd be awesome, mate. Yep. I definitely need to know about this because that's pretty massive news. I'm just wondering how I can actually... David Fletcher. All right. I've just put you in. I've got my notes here. All right. We got the scoop. Thanks, Dave. All right. As of today, they can no longer buy them from Respironics, so they're scrambling for other sources aftermarket. My goodness me. What is the world coming to? They are completely screwed, Phillips. They are gone. Gone. They've got that piece of crap DS2 that is just cheap rubbish. That screen is crap. The plastic just scratches. The humidifier tank is rubbish. It is junk. And they might think that they're going to be, back in business within a year. I can tell you right now, they're not. They are not. And there'll be so much more we don't know about, guys. They are just the worst company. They will be hiding so much stuff. They'll be bribing people They will be fudging results. Oh, nice. Sorry, Dave. Didn't realize you were a member of the Facebook group, mate. I should know that sort of stuff. Although, can't really be expected to know 6,500 people. But yes, mate, I'll follow you up on Facebook. DM you in about 5 minutes once I hang up on this chat, and I'll hear it. Unless you just want to put a post up on the Facebook group, man, that'd be cool as well. Just put up a post if you like and just tag me in it. Congratulations, man. Good work. How's business? Said, mate, put your company name out there. There's a lot of people watching. 113 viewers at the moment. I've had 3,000 playbacks. Oh, nice one, buddy. I'm glad to hear it. Am I an Australian? What do you think? Of course I am. I shouldn't have to. I think you should be able to hear the way I talk. That should give it away. I'm an Aussie. A true blue Aussie. About as true blue as it gets. Hi, Aaron. All right, guys. I better go see how my COVID family is going. Make sure they're still kicking about. I'll see you all soon. Thanks for tuning in. It's been real. My first ever live stream, so it's great to share it with you. I think it was pretty good until I tapered off there and started talking shit. No, it was quite good. And I hope you all learned something. And we'll do more. We might do one on this Philips Respironics drama. So have yourselves a great night. I'll see you soon. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you soon, guys. All the best. Lots of love. And cheers. Go and pour yourself a drink. Not before bed, though. See ya. I will, Jack. See you guys. Thanks to all the members also. You guys are awesome. Thanks for your support. I know CPAP's expensive enough as it is, so your contributions mean a lot. See ya.